Welcome to Global Watch. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. For over a century, a handful of critical waterways have quietly powered the engine of global commerce, acting as the arteries through which the world's goods flow. These routes move everything from coffee beans and crude oil to smartphones and cars, connecting distant continents and fueling economies everywhere. When these maritime highways run smoothly, the world economy thrives, prices stay stable, and shelves remain stocked. But when they're disrupted by climate change, political conflict, or fierce competition, chaos and uncertainty ripple across the globe, impacting businesses and consumers alike. Today, we're witnessing a dramatic shift. China is executing a multi-billion-dollar plan to build a new trade corridor across South America, directly challenging the US-aligned Panama Canal and its dominance. This isn't just about building infrastructure, it's a bold, geopolitical move that could fundamentally reshape global trade and the balance of power for decades to come. The plan centers on a $7.5 billion investment, a massive deep-water megaport on Peru's Pacific coast, designed to handle the world's largest cargo ships. Alongside it, a proposed railway would slice across the continent, linking Peru to Brazil's Atlantic shore and creating a direct land and sea route for global trade. If successful, this corridor would offer a faster, Chinese-influenced alternative to the Panama Canal, potentially shifting the flow of goods and the balance of influence. The timing is critical. Panama's canal now faces historic droughts and growing bottlenecks, threatening its reliability as a global gateway. Meanwhile, US-China rivalry is intensifying in Latin America, as both nations vie for influence over these vital trade routes. Ports, railways, and shipping lanes have become chess pieces in a high-stakes game for control over the future of global trade. Tonight, we'll break down this unfolding story, explore why it matters right now, and reveal what these changes could mean for all of us. How they might affect the products we buy, the prices we pay, and the world we live in. The map of global trade is being redrawn before our eyes, and its impact will reach every corner of the globe. To truly grasp China's ambitions in the region, you first need to understand the Panama Canal's historic and ongoing role in shaping global trade and geopolitics. Since its opening in 1914, this 51-mile waterway has been a linchpin of international commerce, dramatically slashing travel time between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. It transformed shipping routes, making global trade faster, cheaper, and more efficient, and fueling a century of economic growth. Today, the canal handles about 6% of all global maritime trade, moving everything from cars and electronics to food and fuel every single day. Its impact touches nearly every corner of the world. For Panama, the canal is much more than a waterway. It's an economic lifeline, generating billions in revenue, employing thousands, and shaping the nation's identity and prosperity. But this vital artery faces mounting threats. Climate change has brought severe droughts, lowering water levels, and forcing authorities to restrict the number and size of ships that can pass through. Even after a massive expansion project, the world's largest ships remain too big for its locks, and the canal's capacity is stretched to its limits, leaving shippers searching for alternatives. These vulnerabilities have opened the door for rivals and sparked a global search for new routes and solutions. For China, relying on a US-aligned canal is a strategic risk that could threaten its supply chains and economic security. Beijing's search for alternatives is about more than just commerce. It's about national security, influence, and ensuring its goods can reach global markets no matter what. That search now leads to Peru's Pacific coast, where new infrastructure projects could reshape the balance of power in global shipping. The stage is set for a new era in global trade, where old routes are challenged and new ambitions take center stage. China's answer isn't another canal, but a transcontinental corridor, part of its Belt and Road Initiative. The plan built a world-class port on Peru's Pacific coast, then connect it to Brazil's Atlantic coast by high-speed rail. This land bridge could move goods across South America in days, bypassing Panama entirely. For commodities like soybeans and iron ore, it means faster, cheaper routes to Asia. By financing and building this infrastructure, China gains leverage over trade flows and reduces dependence on US-controlled choke points. Critics call it debt trap diplomacy, but supporters see vital investment where the West has lagged. Either way, China's economic and strategic footprint in Latin America is expanding rapidly. At the heart of China's expanding global strategy lies the Chancay deepwater port in Peru, which became operational in November 2024 after years of ambitious construction and investment. This state-of-the-art facility is already transforming the region's maritime landscape. Situated just north of Lima and majority-owned by China's COSCO shipping ports, Chengke is envisioned as South America's premier gateway to Asia. Its strategic location is no accident. Chengke is positioned to capture a massive share of trans-Pacific trade. The port's deep berths are engineered to accommodate the world's largest container ships, vessels so enormous they can't even pass through the Panama Canal. This gives Chengke a unique logistical advantage. For the first time ever, these massive ships can travel directly between Asia and South America, bypassing traditional bottlenecks and slashing shipping times by up to 10 days. This efficiency could reshape global supply chains. For Peru, Chengke represents more than just a port. It promises thousands of new jobs, billions in foreign investment, and the chance to become a continental logistics hub, connecting Latin America to the world. Yet, critics warn of the risks. Growing dependence on Beijing as China steadily gains control over critical infrastructure that underpins Peru's economy and security. Chengke is a textbook example of China's global playbook. Identify a strategic need, deploy vast capital, and secure long-term influence in key regions. The United States, meanwhile, is only now waking up to the true scale of Beijing's ambitions in Latin America, as China's presence becomes impossible to ignore. The port's grand opening marks not just a milestone for Peru, but the beginning of a new era of economic and geopolitical competition across Latin America. As global powers vie for influence, the stakes for the region's future have never been higher, and Chengke stands at the very center of this unfolding story. Chengke Port is just the start. The next step, the Bi-Oceanic Railway, a proposed 3,000-mile line from Peru to Brazil's Atlantic coast. If built, it would be one of the world's most ambitious engineering feats, linking the Pacific and Atlantic with a high-speed trade corridor. For Brazil, a top exporter to China, the railway could slash shipping times and costs, making its goods even more competitive. But the route faces daunting challenges, crossing the Andes, the Amazon, and sensitive ecosystems. Environmental and social concerns, plus political hurdles, have stalled progress for years. Still, Beijing sees the strategic prize as worth the risk. The railway is a symbol of China's willingness to reshape landscapes to secure its economic future. Even as a proposal, it's already shifting geopolitical calculations. The Iron Silk Road dream is changing the game in South America. As China advances its alternative, tensions are rising in Panama, the nation with the most to lose. In August 2025, US and Chinese diplomats clashed at the UN over influence in the canal. The dispute centers on port terminals run by Hong Kong-based CK Hutchison Holdings. A US-backed consortium tried to buy out CK Hutchison, but Beijing resisted, wanting its own state-owned COSCO included. The stalemate has paralyzed a multi-billion-dollar deal, leaving Panama caught between two superpowers. Control over these terminals means control over trade flows, a critical advantage in global logistics. The Panamanian government is walking a diplomatic tightrope, balancing US ties with Chinese investment. The stalled deal is now a symbol of the broader struggle for influence. In today's world, infrastructure deals are about more than business. They're about geopolitics and national security. For Panama, the stakes couldn't be higher. Under pressure from both Washington and Beijing, Panama is fighting to reclaim control. In October 2025, the Panama Canal Authority announced a $2.6 billion plan for two new port terminals, Corozal and Telfers, to boost capacity by 5 million containers a year. By inviting global players, including China's COSCO and US-backed TIL, Panama aims to diversify ownership and reduce vulnerability. The new terminals will compete directly with CK Hutchison's, forcing stalled negotiations to a head. Legal moves could even see Panama take over existing terminals if court rulings go against Hutchison. It's a high-stakes game of leverage and sovereignty. Panama is determined to remain master of its own house, even as global powers vie for control. The nation's identity and future are on the line. Developments in Peru and Panama mark a turning point in global trade. China's new corridor could redraw shipping maps, shifting South America's economic center toward Asia. This deepens ties with China and challenges the US's long-standing dominance in the region. The Panama Canal, once a symbol of American power, now faces a formidable rival. For Panama, The threat of lost cargo and revenue is real, fueling urgent modernization efforts. Globally, China's Belt and Road Initiative is building a new infrastructure network on its terms, creating dependencies and expanding influence. The US and allies are only beginning to respond. The contest unfolding in the Americas previews the defining geopolitical struggle of the 21st century. The stakes: control over the arteries of global commerce. The outcome will shape the world's economic and political future. These aren't distant stories. They shape our daily lives. The price of gas, the food on your table, the electronics you buy, all depend on stable global trade routes. As new corridors emerge and old ones are challenged, the effects ripple worldwide. China's rise in South America is more than a challenge to the Panama Canal. It's a challenge to a century-old order. This brings both opportunity and risk, more efficient supply chains, but also greater instability as nations compete for control. US-China rivalry is playing out in concrete, steel, and shipping containers. The choices made in Beijing, Washington, and Panama City will impact us all. The competition for trade routes is heating up, shaping the world for generations. Next time you see Made in China or enjoy South American coffee, remember the journey behind it. The ground beneath the global economy is shifting, and understanding these changes is essential for our future.